Dillon Gabriel is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. And they always say how it's a passing league and it's never been easier than what it is right now to throw the football in today's NFL with how soft the defenses are. You can't hit anybody. You can't really put your hands on any of these receivers. If you just breathe on the receiver, a flag gets thrown your way. So for Dillon Gabriel to be averaging 4.9 yards per pass is an obvious sign that he's not a starting quarterback. He is a backup quarterback that the Browns are trying to force to be a franchise QB, and he just doesn't have the ability to be that. But they do have a guy on their bench who they have refused to give the fair share of opportunities that Dillon Gabriel has had to prove that he has what it takes to be a starting quarterback in this league. And that is Shedeur Sanders. Look, whether you like Shedeur or if you hate Shedeur, you got to admit that it's time for Shedeur Sanders to get an opportunity to start for the Browns, because Miles Garrett had 5 sacks against the Patriots today, and the Browns wasted that performance by allowing Dillon Gabriel to stink it up. 4.9 yards per pass, trying to throw deep bombs downfield, even though he has a noodle arm. You are wasting not just Miles Garrett, but you're wasting away the rest of this season by trying to force Dillon Gabriel to be something that he's not. He's never going to be a franchise quarterback. Dillon Gabriel, at his best, is a low-end starting quarterback, a high-level backup. He's going to take care of the football. He's not going to put the football in harm's way, but he is not somebody that is going to elevate the Browns to even being a playoff team, let alone a Super Bowl contender, which is the goal for every franchise. And it amazes me how Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are Ivy League guys, but they've gone about this quarterback situation so stupidly. Because me and you all know, with what we saw out of Shedeur Sanders at Colorado, that he was a better quarterback prospect coming out of this past year's draft than Dillon Gabriel. Better athlete, stronger arm, and he did way more with less compared to Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel played on some of the best talent-loaded rosters in college football. Oklahoma had a loaded team when he played. Oregon had arguably one of the best teams in college football during his final season there. Shedeur carried Colorado with just Travis Hunter, a bunch of good receivers, and the piss-poor offensive line. So when you have a guy that was able to turn around 2 programs that he went to in Colorado and Jackson State in a 4-year span, he more than proved that he has what it takes to be a starting quarterback in this league. And most scouts, most executives, most college coaches view Shedeur as a solid starting quarterback. They view him as like a Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott kind of QB, where he may not be good enough to be a top 5 quarterback in the league, but in the right situation, he can be good enough to give you stability at the quarterback position, something that the Browns haven't had since they shipped away the last, probably the only franchise quarterback that they had in Baker Mayfield. And all throughout OTAs and training camp, when you saw that quarterback tracker, Shedeur Sanders had the higher completion percentage, the better touchdown interception ratio than Dillon Gabriel, but yet Dillon Gabriel got the nod due to politics. And right now, you're starting to see the results of what politicking gets you. And that's you being one of the worst teams in the NFL and your star player crashing out because he just had a historical 5-sack game that got wasted away because Dillon Gabriel just sucks. It's time for the Browns to admit that they got it wrong with Dillon Gabriel and to start Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders should be starting right now. Dillon Gabriel, we've seen enough to know that he doesn't have it. And most young quarterbacks, you want to give them at least a season or two to show what they can do. We don't need to see any more out of Dillon Gabriel. We don't need to see a full season of Dillon Gabriel starting for the Browns to know that he doesn't have what it takes to lead this franchise to any success. All Dillon Gabriel is doing is further putting the Browns in a bigger hole than what they already are and in position to get the first overall pick in next year's draft. And unless the Browns intend on drafting another quarterback, which I doubt they want to do, then it would be in their best interest to start Shedeur Sanders and stop playing these dumbass politicking games trying to act like Dillon Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders when we all saw at quarterback, Shedeur was the far better quarterback. He's the far more talented quarterback of the two. Dillon Gabriel tried to throw a deep bomb to Isaiah Bond in the second half of this Patriots game, and he had to take like 5 steps up outside the pocket to even muster up enough arm strength to get the ball downfield to him. And of course, it ended up not just being a bad throw, but an easy interception for the Patriots. The Patriots were literally laughing at the Browns for continuing to have Dillon Gabriel out there. Miles Garrett crashed out on the sidelines because he knows that the Browns are wasting time by having Dillon Gabriel out there when he knows and everybody in that locker room knows that Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback on this doggone team. But Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry want to continue to play these politics, and they refuse to admit that they're wrong because of their egos blinding them from the fact that Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback on this team and he should be starting. Jimmy Haslam, his family was at the game last week and they all had Shedeur Sanders jerseys on. So Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, all of his kids know, everybody in his family knows that Shedeur Sanders is the guy, but yet the guys that he's paying the big dollars to, the GM and the head coach, Ivy League grads, by the way, are just too dumb to realize that they have to answer to their quarterback problems sitting on the bench holding a clipboard for a guy that should be holding the clipboard for Shedeur, when Shedeur should be the one out there getting the opportunity to show what he can do to get meaningful reps in the game. And all the Browns want to do is limit his practice reps, limit his opportunities to just being the scout team quarterback. And you're just letting a future franchise quarterback just rot away on the bench while you continue to lose games for the sake of trying to justify your idiotic selection of a guy that never should have gotten drafted as high as what he did. Shedeur fell in the 5th round because he wanted to fall in the 5th round because he wanted to pick his spot, and he's in the best situation to start. Everybody keeps saying the Browns need to trade Shedeur Sanders. There's only 1 or 2 teams that right now need a quarterback. That being the Raiders and the Jets. The Jets are more than situated with Justin Fields for this season. The Raiders probably won't trade for a quarterback until this offseason. So right now, Shedeur Sanders' best opportunity to start is with Cleveland. With just how much of a shithole this organization has been, it's probably the easiest path that Shedeur will ever have to being a quarterback in this league. It's just he has to get the head coach and the GM to get over their egos, to get over their idiocracy, and to realize that Dillon Gabriel just doesn't have it. When you have a guy that's 32nd in QBR, is averaging 4.9 yards per pass, you don't have a starting caliber quarterback. If all Dillon Gabriel is going to do is throw 3 and 5 yard checkdowns all game, you're better off putting Shedeur out on the field, because at least Shedeur is going to push the football downfield. And I guarantee you, if Shedeur was starting right now, then this team will look a lot better than what it does, because the Browns don't have a bad roster. If the Browns started Shedeur, they instantly would be a force to be reckoned with. They could instantly be a playoff caliber football team, although they're out of the playoffs now with them wasting time with Dillon Gabriel. But with Shedeur, that's how good this team would be. They would be the equivalent to a playoff or a French playoff team, because all the Browns are lacking is quarterback play. Now, the offensive line isn't that great, but Dillon Gabriel doesn't do the offensive line any favors with him being a sub 6 foot quarterback. Shedeur's just a better quarterback in all aspects than what Dillon Gabriel is, which is why it's time for the Browns to stop playing these politicking games and to put the best quarterback out there. Start Shedeur Sanders.